This is episode 176 of the Gold Squadron podcast. I'm your host, Dion Morales, and today I'm joined by Marcel. My stick pulls slightly to the left, Manzano.
Hey. Keep it clean.
Will, the self-proclaimed Brita of the group, Hagwood.
You better be getting you guys' dibs on Jeff quick, because I think Nick's Troy, Nick is Troy for sure.
Ryan, lore master that has defeated the host, Staniszewski.
Correct. Just had a game with the host of the Millennium Condor Bella Diffusion podcast just recently today.
Destroyed.
And I defeated him, and he wanted me to make sure I let people know.
Nice.
And also, I am still the lore master, reigning and defending until defeated.
Excellent. Hold on to it, Ryan, forever. Now
that's the goal.
I gotta back up a little bit. So, Will, if you're the Brita, because I just finished the episode during my rewatch where they describe Brita as the buzzkill. I guess maybe later season, like season 3, season 4 Brita, not season 2 Brita.
Oh yeah, no, not season 1 Brita.
Okay.
I'm probably I'm probably Hickey in the later seasons, actually. Marcel, you have no idea of what I'm talking about, but what did I say? Oh, Nickel City. That's definitely our Chang, for sure.
Beautiful.
I don't have any other references. Marcel, you are either Pierce or Jeff. Call it quick. Dion, you're also Annie or Jeff. Call it quick.
I'll take
Ryan.
I'll take. Yeah, I can see that. I see that.
Yeah.
Marcellus Pierce, according to the chat.
Well, not fully encompassing. Ryan, do you know what we're talking about? Do you got a community character you think you are?
You're muted, Ryan.
Muted, sorry. I have not watched Community to know, unfortunately. I need to watch it.
You're you rejected the Sheldon Big Bang comparison, so you might not be Abed. Are you? These are characters on this show. Are you Sherry? What's her name? Charisse? You're watching.
Apparently he's laughing enough. That's probably a yes.
That's great.
All right. I'm gonna look it up. Community.
It's on Netflix. It's on Netflix. You got the whole thing on Netflix.
It's on Hulu? Yeah, sure. She's a sandwich making black woman, but
with his cookies. Yes. Oh my goodness.
Cookies.
How do you spell Sherry? From the show.
Idea.
No idea. I think it's Shirley. Might be Shirley.
Shirley. That's what it is.
Oh, Shirley. Okay. Let's say. She's talking about like making food and bringing stuff, man.
Yeah.
So
she's good-hearted. She's a giver, and her friends are like family.
That sounds about right.
There you go.
But also, man, it was apple pie season for my wife. She baked like, oh man, we went to Apple Orchard, and me and friends and herself went there, picked like 2 full bags of apples per couple, and we left her friend's place with like 6 apple pies, 2 apple crisps, and like still a whole bag of apples left over to make more things with.
It's apple season.
People have been asking for contactless delivery of apple pies, and I said I only go so far.
I'd like to place an order. That's hilarious. All right, well, let's go ahead and jump into announcements and news. First thing, I'm not sure if you guys saw this, but the head of organized play, Alex Watkins, has left Fantasy Flight Games. We don't know what that means for or why. We don't know any of that information. But I think it's important to bring up because he was a really big advocate for X-Wing and was somebody who I did work with getting things streamed and with the world tour and everything. So best wishes to him. Again, we don't know what's going on there. And obviously with COVID and all that and all the official events being canceled, that maybe he just wanted to change. I don't really want to speculate on any of that, but one thing that I do think is important is that he did play a big role in what I'm going to call the recentering of organized play. While Zach Rayburn did some good work, towards the end, he was the one that kind of caused some of the confusion in the changing of the names of the different levels of play, like the Prime and all this. Like, what's a Prime championship? Alex Watkins here at the end brought it back. You had the store level championships, and we needed another year to really get comfortable with it again, but. Anyway, I really like the work that Alex Watkins did, and I wish him the best. He's moving back to the UK. Best wishes to him. Now, the other organized play thing that I do want to bring up is there's this organized play campaign that just came out today called We're Bored in Quarantine. And essentially what they're asking for pictures. Like, send us pictures of you playing Fantasy Flight board games. And I had a couple people tag me in this, and even people like, hey, I should take pictures of us playing during a Galaxies event. Don't do it. Don't do it. Why, Dion? Okay, so let's state the obvious. Okay, Tabletop Simulator, Vassal, they're not official Fantasy Flight Games products. Let's not submit pictures to a official Fantasy Flight Games campaign that they plan on using pictures to make a photo album and all that. We don't, keep it away. Keep it away. All right? So if you've already done it, go remove your post. Take pictures of yourself with your ships. If you want to represent X-Wing there, do a little ship selfie. Maybe you sort in some cards. We should be represented in it. Just be... you got to think past that next step. You got to remember Vassal, Tabletop Simulator, not official things. If you want something with the computer, you could take a snapshot of yourself, list building with the official list building app. But yeah, don't do TTS, don't do Vassal for this campaign. It is cool. I like what they're doing. I like the idea. I think it's important to put it out there. Make sure it's official means. I don't know if anything bad would happen per se, but I just think it's important to remind y'all in your excitement. Next weekend is Ryloth, the Ryloth Galactic Championship qualifier. Super excited about it. It is taking place during the Warsaw, Poland time zone. So if you are playing, make sure you have all of the steps set. I published a step-by-step flow chart saying, like, are you actually ready to play in Galaxies, and go through each step. So make sure you do that. And then the weekend after, we have the Mustafar Hyperspace Challenge here. Sorry, that's the weekend after. Oh, yeah, it is the weekend after. So October 24th, 25th, the Mustafar Hyperspace. It's happening during the Dallas time zone. So go ahead, get your tickets now. They are still available, and we will see what happens there. Also, we have Coruscant coming up in a few weeks. That's happening November 7th and 8th. If you have an invite, the email has already been sent. We're going to talk about it a little bit more later in relation to what we're talking about today. We're talking about upcoming releases. But yeah, Coruscant invitations have already been sent. Last piece of announcement here. As for Patreon update, the latest wave of stuff is already, about half of it is already done shipping. So look forward to those mailboxes coming. And we today announced our new wave of Patreon swag, which revolves around the LAT gunship. We had an awesome piece of art that we commissioned from an artist who you might know, Wade Pichet. He's actually working on, yeah, exactly. So he actually is working on his a comic book with it has two factions, World War II era fictional, which is really, really cool. I'm actually a patron of his for that comic book because it looks really cool. I like the story that he's creating. And I said, hey, would you be willing to do some stuff for us? And this is the first. There's some more stuff on the way. And it is a 3-panel design where we have a bunch of lats taking on some separatists. And if you're just on the base level, you get 3 cards and you flip them over on the back and you can make the full picture there. And of course, we have there the 2/12th, Warthog, and Hawk. What about the other one? Soon, TM. GSP Y-Wing sticker, and if you're at that top level, we have those GSP helmet dial comers limited to 45. Thank you for all your guys' support. Let's go ahead and jump into our first topic. Bam. The ETA-2 FFG published their article specifically about it. If you didn't see it, we'll go ahead and slap it up on your screen. There it is. And you know what we like to do? We like to go through the cards. We're going to read them. If you haven't seen it, there it is on your screen. It brings a hyperspace ring that is not usable in the normal game, by the way. Just if you were wondering. So we're not going to be worried about the epic upgrades today or how the hyperspace ring functions. I have a separate video plan for it for anybody who's going to be into it. But we're going to be going through the upgrades, and I want to do a way too early rankings. All we know is the abilities. S, A, B, or C. Where do we think these things are going to land? And then, of course, once we have the points, we will reevaluate. If you're watching live with us, go ahead, give us your ratings when we get to each of the pilots and upgrades. The first thing we're going to do is hit the Extreme Maneuvers Force upgrade card. You got to be a small ship, and you need the boost action. Ryan, tell me a story with your words. What does this card do?
So this card here is a Force small ship requirement boost requirement on the action bar. While you perform a boost action, you may spend a Force to use the 1-turn template instead. Basically, spend a Force to Daredevil, which is better because you're not stressed afterwards. But also, watch out for Extreme Kylo.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, let's take a minute and talk about this. So you compared it to Daredevil. Daredevil is a card that we don't see used too often. I would say the pilot that we see it the most often on is hold on, Marcel. Let me get there. One of the pilots we've seen it on a lot is Rick Olay. I know that Marcel is a big fan and proponent of Daredevil, but as a whole, Daredevil isn't super popular. Do we think that Extreme Maneuvers will be more popular than Daredevil because of Force users? They got extra resources. What are your thoughts, Ryan?
Likely, yes, but I do expect this to probably be worth 2 more points than Daredevil, just because you don't end up stressed. And as much as people look at this as like this could be something to consider for initiative scale. Like, why do you initiative scale this if Daredevil is initiative scaled? It's the same type of effect. It's just the cost of it's different. Mm-hmm. So I just expect it to be a little bit higher of cost, even though the opportunity cost of it being a Force slot, there's less ships with Force than there are talent. It's still something that is stressless after you do it.
Mm-hmm. Agreed.
Which, as we know from FTC, being in fine-tuned controls on the current Jedi Aether sprites, double reposition or action plus a reposition plus an action is really good if you don't end up stressed.
Marcel, now since you have used a lot of Daredevil, what are your thoughts on this card?
I think you're going to see it a lot, and it's not just on Rick. It's also, I actually like it a lot on Von Reg. Basically, any ship that's moving last or any ship that can get an action before having to do that boost. So either an evade or like the Jedi. Like you can, I mean, I can, yeah, like I can see this on not just the ETAs, but something like Obi-Wan or any of those Jedi's. If especially if it's not costed that high, just move and fine tune a 90 degrees, and then still be able to barrel roll or take an action. I mean, it's just, I think it's pretty. I think 4 points is way too cheap for it, and I do think that it probably deserves to be a scaling to where low initiative ships might be able to get it at 2 points, and then high initiative ships probably in the 5, 6 points. I would even, I mean, I would pay 6 points on an initiative 5 for this on Kylo being able to move, barrel roll, and then do a 90 degree.
I'd pay 2 points for this on generic Inquisitors.
Yeah,
They
not
have
only
a
that.
linked action as well.
Yeah,
Turns out the generic Inquisitors can just like, I'm a turret now. One turn, one turn, one turn, one turn.
Yep.
Here's a question.
I mean, who needs the grappling struts? You just stay in place. You create your own grappling strut.
I am the Rock. Here's another idea. I know we're talking about the generic Inquisitors there. What about scaling this by the number of Force that a Force user has? Does that make it fair? Because that is one thing that's going to limit it, right? Somebody who has 3 Force would, mind you, of course, those are also higher initiative, but it gives maybe another point of. So, for instance, the difference between Plo Koon and Obi-Wan Kenobi. I think Plo Koon would be less willing to equip this card versus Obi-Wan Kenobi because Obi-Wan has 3 Force. Like you have that, the resources change there. Just a thought.
I disagree. I think this is a positioning one more so than anything else. It's how much more information than do you have to be able to use this effectively to know where the other ship is going to be. So I think initiative in this particular case, if it's something like Luminara's ability where it's like a sensor jam type of thing, I can see that being costed based on how often you can use it.
Mm-hmm.
But this one, I think it just tends to lend itself more to how much information do you have on the board state when it becomes available to use. Yeah, so good, and especially with battle meditation, I can see like you have one ship with battle meditation, or you have the Jedi with all these new coordinate things, be able to coordinate a hard turn. I don't know. I can see a lot of fun with this. I think it's probably going to be costed under, like cheaper than we probably are guessing, just to get it on day one, because it's FFG. But.
So, as a little bit of a public service announcement here, if I recall correctly, right now, if you have an X-wing that has a talent slot, even though it has S-foils, it cannot equip Daredevil, right? Because there's not a setup side on the S-foils. You could start on either side, even though it's added to the bar on one side. It's not dedicated upon setup. So you cannot, say, equip this Extreme Maneuvers onto Luke.
Correct.
That's correct.
So
Wait, why not? Sorry, what I miss?
Because it's not always. There's times when he wouldn't.
Yeah, if the S foils say setup start closed, then there's maybe that would have been a clause that would have allowed, say, Daredevil to go on talent-able X-Wings or Extreme Maneuvers to go on, say, Luke. But because it's flexible on either side, that wouldn't meet the requirement for being able to equip the card in the first place.
Yeah, I get what you mean now because of the boost requirement. Yeah.
So, Marcel, if they do initiative scale Extreme Maneuvers, should they then initiative scale Daredevil?
I think they should, but they won't because hardly anybody uses it.
I mean that.
Okay, this is what I'm saying. Anything that has to do with
board knowledge,
with board knowledge and positioning without much consequence, I think should be scaled based on initiative. The stress is a big deal for like this is. On a lot of ships, especially fine-tuned Jedi, it's very little very, very little consequence to using this. I mean, you spend the force. Who cares? You're gonna get a shot one before you weren't.
Some people care. I guess you're thinking about it in the arc dodging sense. That is definitely something that can give you the strength.
Yeah, I'd actually like with Dion's recommendation. I'm more on the side of if you're going to scale on anything, scale with the force pool available. Because say you scale it by initiative and you go I4, well, Barriss Offee with 1 force is the same cost as Mace Windu with 3 force because they're both I4.
Well, no, they're not. The upgrade would be the same cost, but
Sure.
It's 38 points. Mace is 40 something. There's a significant. I mean, you're paying a premium for those extra force already.
Right, but I
to
guess
a degree, yes.
I guess the argument there is: do you think that this card in a vacuum, is it more valuable to a 3-4 ship versus a 1-4 ship, taking points out of it? Because if that is true, then I would say then scaling by force is an option. But at the same time, I'd absolutely understand the argument of doing it by initiative, because if you're an initiative 6 or 5 and you move last, having more flexibility on how you move is always an advantage. So
luckily, we don't have an initiative 6 with. Well, no, Anakin. That's right.
Anakin,
the chosen one.
Both Anakin. Can you imagine?
We have to be concerned.
Think about it. You can fly through a rock. You can fly through a gas cloud and do a 90-degree after that. It's pretty good.
Wait, why?
Well, spending 2 force to
because
do
fine tune lets you still boost.
Oh, fine tune. Yeah.
Yeah, you brought it. Fine tune is why I do not like this card on Jedi. And the ETA has a similar thing. I forget the name where you
It's in the
you
system
boost.
phase.
Right.
Yeah.
But that would still cost you 2 force points then.
Yeah.
And that's expensive just for a 90-degree boost.
That would mean that any ship with only 1 force can't even do it.
Can't do that.
You can't even do that. Yeah.
Yep.
Which
honestly, I'd like it if they just make it simple, have a single cost for this thing, and make sure it's not too cheap for the people who are the worst offenders.
that's probably the safe way to go.
Yep.
All right. So Ryan, this was your card. What tier do you think it belongs in?
Without knowing points, but knowing its effect on the game and what it can do with some of the best pilots in the game, at least A tier, high A tier.
At least high A tier. Okay.
Potential S tier, but I don't want to give it S because I gave S tier to something in the previous wave that we just got, and then it got pointed out to, this isn't S tier at all. So A+ tier.
A+ tier. Excellent. All right. So our next one, Will, we're going to go ahead and have you take this one. Patience. It is a light side only upgrade.
I believe this is our first light side force upgrade as well. This says, at the start of the engagement phase, if there is an enemy in your front arc, you may gain 1 deplete token to recover 1 force. So at the start of the combat, after everyone's probably done moving, you can decide how valuable that shot is and if you need more force. Definitely a defensive card. Both the CLT and the ETA. Oh man, I just gotta call them by their. What is it? Aether Sprite and what's the actual name of the ETA-2? Actus.
Yes.
Both of them would have just like a 2 dice attack, range 3, and if that's not going to hit, and you've used your fine-tuned controls or intuitive controls, you might want to take that force for defense and just set up a shot later on. So I think it has potential. Do you guys have a quick list of who light side force users are?
Yeah,
Who
I
can
do.
this even go on?
I would if it's cheap enough, which I think it'll be cheap because it's basically saying, take one last shot.
Well, no,
I
I'm just asking who can even equip a light side force upgrade?
So all Jedi,
Oh, like
Rey,
And Luke.
Leia, and I think that's
That's
it.
it.
all right. Well, the way I was thinking is,
Oh, Kanan.
I was
Yes.
thinking, just regen Jedi. I love regen Jedi. Just if you're gonna regen, you can regen and get a straight and get an extra force. And like, who cares if you're not shoot? I mean, who cares about a deplete token when you're disabled anyway?
Yeah.
Well,
Also Ezra. My bad.
Well,
Ezra,
okay.
Sheathapede or TIE Fighter.
So to rebut what you're saying, though, Marcel, most of the time when you're regenning your shields, you are running away.
Yeah, you're not going to have.
You have to have somebody in the
Trying
arc.
to run away
You're-
or bump into something to not get shot.
That's true. That's
Trying
true.
to run away and running away are two different things.
That's true. That's a good point, though. It does work at ships at range 0. They are still technically in your arc.
I think this seems like it would be really good on Rey because she already hits like a truck. I mean, like, oh, instead of 5, I have 4 dice to hit you with.
I don't know.
I guess if she doesn't have 2 force, I mean, sure.
I can see it if you're taking shots back and you have to spend the force to convert a blank into a hit anyway.
No, I understand that. So you roll 1 less dice to get 1 additional confirmed result.
Yeah, if you have Finn, right? So
right.
front arc, take deplete, have a force. If you didn't have any, to then guarantee 1 result will be a hit. Probably be good if you already had a target lock or a focus. I think it'd be pretty hilarious. So, a little bit of a putting on conspiracy theory hat right now, or a prediction hat. I think it'd be kind of hilarious if Yoda pilot got 2 force upgrades and you had patiently extreme Yoda.
Yes. Yes.
I think you said that in the wrong order, though. It's extremely patient. Yoda.
You put in whatever order you want.
Follow your heart.
It's not wrong.
All right, Will, where are you putting this card?
Ooh. I could actually see this costing quite a bit more than people would want to pay for it. But I'm also going to put this into the A tier. I do think this will see play outside of the Republic. There's a lot of those Rebel Force users we mentioned that would really enjoy having this.
All right. And now, speaking of regen, let's head over to the R2-D2 Republic droid here. Marcel, what are your thoughts on here? What does this do?
All right. After you activate, you may spend a charge and gain 1 deplete token to repair 1 damage card, recover 1 shield, or remove 1 device at range 0 to 1. I love this so much. Unfortunately, it's only Republic, but I love it. So basically, it's R2D2 on steroids, and instead of taking a weapons disabled, you only get a deplete, so you still get to shoot. Shooting's better than not shooting. It doesn't only work on shields; it also works on damage cards, which matters because of the ETA not having any shields. And then additionally, the device at range 0 to 1, when you activate, that's basically just anti-droid swarm, unless there's other stuff that's coming down the pipeline that is sticking to you. The
Anti-bomb?
because that is what you can do, right? Is that considered a device? The droid
Yeah, they reclarified it to work. So the buzz droid is that, but also bombs. Or if anyone tries to drop a mine in front of you, you just say nope.
Well,
Well, it's after you activate, though,
it's
right?
Yeah, after you activate, which
Oh
is
yeah, yeah.
The
That
bombs
means if
happen in the
they
system
don't drop it on
phase.
top of you. If they drop it in front of you and you fly over it.
But even so, there's
Yeah, but-
mines and there's also bombs. So if there's a concussion bomb in the area you're going to be in and you're doing a tight maneuver, you want to do a tight maneuver, you could use R2D2 to get rid of the bomb, and now you don't have to worry about it.
Yeah, so if somebody drops a proton bomb and it's gonna hit, you just use R2D2 to get rid of the bomb. It doesn't hit anybody.
so it's after you activate completely after you're done with that ship's activation phase, or after activate, meaning after you've initiated the activation.
No,
After
no,
you
'cause
move.
you gotta think about how buzz droids attach to you after you move and take your. Well, I guess they attach before you take your actions, so you normally bear off of them. But R2D2 would work after your perform action step. There's a pop
mean, it
quiz. What's the
doesn't-
last thing that happens? Is there something after perform action step in your activation, Dion?
Well, that's what I'm checking for, because by wording after you activate, I'm just trying to think of other things that say that. Is that like, is
No,
the
it's a
word
new-
activate
It's new. Most things are before you activate.
before
would
you
be
activate?
before-
Okay.
Yeah, this is a
Which
new
would
one.
be before you activate,
True.
even before you reveal your dial or anything like that.
Yeah, it's either before you. Everything else is before or when you activate or before you activate. So yeah, and again, I just really like this because I love regen, but not only love regen, but I love regen with choices. That's why I like the Atrium power cells, because you can choose. It gives you 3 different variations. You can use it for regen, you can use it for regen and shooting at the same turn, or you can use it to toss ions out the window. So I like it. I think, like the Atrium power cells, is going to be expensive in the 9 to 10 point range. But even at the 9 to 10 point range, I'm going to pop this up in the S tier, because regen is S, and if you get a regen without having to give up your shot, and you can do more, you have more flexibility with it. I'm gonna say 10 points, and even at 10 points, it's an S.
Awesome. All right. So those are the 3 upgrades we're going to talk about. If you read the article yourself, you know that there's some epic upgrades in there, as well as the hyperspace ring. We're not going to worry about those, as they are not in the main form of the game, but there's actually a video that is about half shot that we're going to be talking about them for a little bit. So let's go on now to our pilots. We already talked about Anakin and Obi-Wan just a little bit, so this is going to be a little bit of review for you and for us. So Anakin, Initiative 6. The ability reads, after you or a friendly Obi-Wan Kenobi ship at range 0 to 3 executes a maneuver, if there are more enemy ships than other friendly ships at range 0 to 1 of that ship, you may spend the Force. And if you do, that ship removes 1 red token of your choice. So flexibility is real nice, but I'm sorry, one thing I did forget to do is just talk about the chassis. The chassis itself, if you haven't been familiar with it, has a 3-die gun in the bullseye, 2 dice in the regular front arc, 3 agility, 3 hull, no shields, and of course a force rating, focus, evade, white evade, a purple target lock, barrel roll, and boost. So looking at Anakin's ability, I like that they've come up with something a little bit different than his 7B ability. But at the same time, I look at this and I wonder if I'm curious to know where these are going to be costed compared to the 7Bs, because the more conditions you have in any ability, the more difficult it's going to be to trigger. Now, it's very similar, right? This is manipulating red tokens. In his 7B ability, it's removing a stress. I do like you can do it to other friendly ships as well. But so if there are more enemy ships, I mean, we're in a swarm meta. I think it's good. What I question is, we don't see people fly Anakin very often because of how expensive he is. So I think in a vacuum, he's probably S tier. But if he's pointed comparatively to the 7B, I think he's gonna end up in the A tier. is my guess, though I think his ability is S tier. Now, the other thing I wanted to cover before we move on is talking about the intuitive controls. That's the ship ability for the Actus, the ETA-2. It says during the system phase, you may perform a purple barrel roll or purple boost action. So it does cost you a force in order to get a little bit of pre-turn maneuverabilities, which just can put you in a lot of funky places. It's not supernatural reflexes, which happens before you're dialed. I know some people say like, oh, it's supernatural. It's not. You got to remember the timing is very different. So, yeah,
You could do a
what are your thoughts on this? Anything else you guys want to
90
throw in there?
degree, and the initiative controls can be a 90-degree
This is true.
change of direction.
Now with the what is it called again? The extreme maneuvers. All right.
One thing to really note with Anakin is, and we'll see in Obi-Wan's ability, this does not require fully execute.
Mm-hmm.
So if Anakin attempts a red maneuver, which I believe is just K-turns because the talons are purple, and if he lands, he's probably closer to enemy ships, so he has that he can get rid of it for. And also, if he just straight bumps into someone attempting a K-turn, he can just get rid of it and try it again or do a different move next turn.
Agreed. I like it. So I'm slapping him an A. And Ryan, since you brought up Obi-Wan, let's talk about Obi-Wan.
So very similar in ability structure. After you or a friendly Anakin Skywalker ship at range 0 to 3 executes a maneuver, if there are more enemy ships other than friendly ships at range 0 to 1 of that ship, being Anakin or Obi himself, you may spend 1 force. If you do, that ship gains a focus token. So we might once again be seeing Obi a lot more than Anakin. I think this ability is better.
Yeah.
Because you could, you literally could just fly Obi into a swarm of ships. He could bump into them and still get a focus.
Yeah, agreed. Having the tokens is often the thing you want. Maneuverability is great, but if you can dial in the right maneuver already and have a token using an ability and it doesn't cost you anything, or it costs you less by only spending the force, and then you could also, evade or get another. Like, it is gains a focus token, so you could also do a focus action. That's important there.
If you get coordinated.
Yep, I think that's great. What are your thoughts? Where are you going to slap this one?
Oh, did you slot Anakin in a tier?
I slotted Anakin in the A tier.
I think Obi-Wan's S tier for these ships. So a little bit of a early thought. If you recall a while back when the first ETAs were mentioned, I was like, oh no, purples, many purples and white evades, big sad, what are we going to do? I think it's a big deal. Intuitive controls happens in the system phase. And I think these guys, even though they might be evading shots like crazy, their ability, because they have to take a purple lock and their bullseye is not like a CLT bullseye, these should be cheaper than CLT Aether sprites.
All right. It's also going to be probably more challenging to get shots, get quality shots. These guys are going to be great at not taking shots, but or not taking damage, which I guess if you maybe the strategy is going to be for it to be a point locker. Like, my goal for the ship is not to get shots. It's just to stay to the end game and be more points than you.
But in all honesty, how much better are these at not taking damage than the Inquisitors? The Inquisitors are better. They have 2 shields, and they also have the evade with the Force. So, I mean, the Inquisitors are better defensively than these guys.
I would say that they're equal. Of just like on raw dice, on raw dice at least.
Yeah, I guess, but the other guys have 2 shields where these guys are rolling.
Yeah, but if you talk about not taking actual damage, most of the time it's going to be the Jedi. They're going to be better at that. Just because, on average, there are more Jedi that have access to higher amounts of Force than Inquisitors.
Mm-hmm. All right, so we went ahead and put them in the S tier, and we'll show the tier here in a minute. I want to make sure we can have those cards up there for you. Let's go on to the next one. Will, now we get into some pilots we haven't talked about yet. This is all new to me and to you guys. Ayala Sakura. Ayla Sakura, excuse me.
Ayala Sakura. She is a confident warrior, an I-5. Oh, the same stat block, but only 2 force. So, it says, while an enemy ship in your front arc at range 0 to 1 performs an attack, the defender may change one blank result to an eyeball result, which is very useful if you have a focus token or the force. So this is interesting that she wants to fight real up close and personal with the ship keeping range 1 and keeping guns on every enemy ship out there. I do think it's a pretty powerful ability, even though it doesn't seem like too much. A single blank to a single eyeball, not exciting, but that's saving you 1/3 of your health on these 3 hit point ships. So she's going to be very interesting, diving right in for those bullseyes and hoping she can get out the other side unscathed. They do need another I-5 pilot because Plo Koon doesn't fly this.
Does not.
Ayla's coming in. It also gives an interesting balance because she's also an important crew member then too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this seems really good. She's definitely gonna be your, like you said, is your brawler. You might be more willing to actually stay in the fight with her versus the other ones here. All right, so Will, where are you placing this ship?
Ooh, the I-5 tempts me into putting it into the A tier, but because it's not double repositioning in activation phase, Ayla's gonna end up in the B tier.
All right, now Marcel, I see some dissent in the chat, and I see some dissent on your face. Bring it forth.
No, I just think this Ayla is better than Obi when it comes to the ETAs. Obi is a better Jedi. It's a really good Jedi, CLT Jedi. But her ability, like you can use her as your straight up jouster. I mean, you just throw her in, and if she bumps, she bumps. Actually, she bumps even better. And then whatever ship you bumped, let's say you throw her right into like Rey or something like that. Whatever ship you bumped, now everybody that ship shoots at, and everybody that's, especially if it's in a little swarm, like you're
Well,
this ability works across the board because it's basically you have to have the attacker at that range. So if you're bumping against someone and they're shooting somebody behind you, that somebody behind you is going to have an automatic focus. So I think it's really good. And if you end up just being range 1 with that bullseye, shooting 4 dice, and then have a focus and 2 force, that's the only thing that I think hurts it is having 2 force instead of 3 force. But
well, see, I'm in with your line of thinking, and that's why I think the I-5 is weird for her, because she can't ace as good as other ships at I-5, and she's not a good blocker. Sure, I mean, if you're first player against other 5s, pretty good blocker, but she's going to struggle to deal with like low initiative swarms in the way that she wants to, which is just dive in there and tank everything.
Another
I
way.
will say it's a big deal that her ability doesn't cost her force anything.
I was just going to say
it's
that.
just a native thing. I'm surprised you put Ayla in B tier. I'd still say A, but I don't know if I go as high as S. Like, I get the ability, and it's effective use to everybody. is just keeping Ayla in there the entire time, which these ships are going to maneuver really weirdly based on the system phase stuff. So we'll have to see.
I mean, this card, it's a slightly worse Concordia face-off for you and your squad.
Slightly.
Right, it costs you a force. It costs you a force to use Concordia face-off, essentially, and of course being at the 0-1.
Yeah, this one works on friendlies, though. This one,
It's Concord for a whole thing. I think the biggest point is going to be what's her cost, because that's really going to determine if you can sneak her into with a swarm, or if she's pretty much locked into that ace price point.
I will say 7B Obi-Wan Kenobi really wants her to be in the fight all the time. Look at my focus results. All right. Well, on our list, I went ahead and put her in the B tier. Let's move on to our next Jedi, Shakti. Shakti. All right, Marcel, take it.
Sure. Actually, I was going to say, just real quick on Ayla. She's a prime candidate for the almost never used Brilliant Evasion. Because now you can spend the Force to turn 2 focus results into 2 evades.
Yeah, but you can't be in their bullseye. So you have to be range 1 of somebody and not be in their bullseye.
Semantics.
Well,
all right.
I mean, hold on. Wait.
We're going.
Wait, are you reading it's while an enemy ship in your front arc at range 0-1, not in their front arc at range 0-1?
Right. So
but
you could be behind them.
You can't be in bullseye to get the double evade.
Yeah, you can totally not be in bullseye as long as you have them in arc.
Yeah, William, fly better.
I guess. I mean, I understand it, but
all right, Shakti time.
We'll see.
All right, Shakti coming in at Nantek's initiative. At the start of the end phase, you may spend any number of force to choose that many friendly ships at range 0-2. Each chosen ship does not remove 1 focus or evade token during the end phase. Amazing. I love it. That is ridiculously amazing. I mean, think about it. Kraken is 11 points now. Kraken 11 is 11 points now. And now you're talking about focus and evades, coming in on that joust. She's, and it's pretty broad range, 0-2. I mean, that gives you a nice, decent bubble. So, very amazing support ship. I can see her next to 2 Delta 7s, maybe Obi and Plo Koon or something like that, and just say, take your force evade, and now you're going to keep those, and you're going to come in at range 1 with focus evade with evade focus or evade target lock 3 force. Just super amazing. And I think we all know a focus or an evade is better than a force. I mean, it just is. So amazing trade-off, and it works on yourself as well. So you can spend that many. Now that's what I like. You can spend that many. So you can take an evade, spend 1 force, then the next turn take a focus, spend both force, and then come in the next turn to have like a target lock, focus, evade shot. Not that you'll do it, but it's available. It's crazy. I'm just S-tiering everything.
I mean, I'm taking the stance right now. Book it, ship it. Shakti is the best pilot in this pack.
I agree.
Yeah.
Agree. Something that I want to point out.
Literally, comms relay the ship. Real old school first edition comms relay the ship. Go ahead, Dion.
Real quick. Something that we have to point out as well, but some people might be missing. So her ability reads at the start of the end phase. Recurring charges for the Force happens during the end phase. That means you could hold on to 1 token on Shakti or another friendly ship at range 0-2 for essentially for free. Because you would use the ability, spend the Force, you get the Force back, next turn, party time.
Yep. Very much party time.
Yep.
Is this our patience carrier? So you can keep those tokens. So you can keep 2 tokens per round.
You could. I mean, so Shock
I
T.
mean, you could keep 2 tokens every other round.
Well, no, if you had patience, you're getting 2 force a round.
Take the deplete. But
Yeah,
so
right.
Shock T is almost like a double or single coordinate in a future turn, right? You're keeping a token that you would have wanted to take in the next turn. If you spend both force, you're going to get 1 force back anyway for the next turn. So in the first engagement, if you want 2 ships in the first fight or 1 ship that really needs that extra token, you spend the necessary force to do it. Shock T hangs back a little bit to not get damaged or shot at, and just works as a support Jedi, just helping tokens for the first fight. Like, man, depending on, like, I'm just looking at Shock T base cost, a LAT gunship with 7th Fleet, and then what 2 ships fit is going to be key. I think after that, like CLT Obi already is like stapled next to a LAT with 7th Fleet gunner. Like that 4th ship, if that can be a real damage dealing ship, watch out.
Yeah, if it fits with Plo, because Plo is actually pretty inexpensive. But somebody,
I don't think Shock T is going to be 38 points. It's got to be mid 40s, right? I don't know. Like that's the difficult part, right? Some CLT Jedi already are in the like mid to high 40s, but this ability, man.
I think it'll be in the like 46 or so range. But anyway, somebody in the chat did point out that you can't keep 2 tokens on the same ship because it says you have to choose that number of ships.
Yeah,
so if you spend 2 force, it has to be 2 different ships. Yeah, but still, I mean, it doesn't change a thing.
Yep. No, Shock T is extremely good.
On our tier list, I will tell you that I have given Shock T a crown. Okay.
Good idea.
Something to look out for sure.
Crown a castle and build a moat around her. Yeah, she's owning
the
that.
most compassionate mentor.
So passionate.
Alrighty. Let's go next. We have Yoda. Yoda in the mini fighter. All right. Convention exclusive win, right? Like that. This is that I have foreseen it. I can see it coming one day. So at Initiative 3, we have Grand Master Yoda, whose ability reads, after another friendly ship, so not for Yoda, after another friendly ship at range 0 to 3 spends 1 or more force, you may spend 1 force. If you do, that ship recovers 1 force. So Yoda is also a support ship of sorts where you are helping other Jedi just stay up on force. Now, this is, it seems like a good ability.
Shock T.
I mean, you can definitely support something like Shock T. I guess the question is, I don't know if in a list I'm going to be willing to pay for this ability if I can get other ships that deal damage. Because while this ability is really solid, you know what? In epic play, I think Yoda would be fantastic because you got more ships available. But I think in your standard game, I don't think we're going to see Yoda played very often, to be completely honest. I'm going to go ahead and I think out of all of the Jedi, I think he is the worst. And unfortunately, and he's going down to the C tier for me. Yeah. Sorry, Grandmaster. C tier.
Also, all I can think of when you said like alternate ship model for like a future convention is like the tiny paper reading GIF is so small.
Yep. All right, and see, so we had a couple comments in the chat. So, Sir, Mr. Dr. Love said, but 7B Obi gets to refocus for free. Yes, you're right, but Obi-Wan already has 3 force. I would rather have Shock T in the list to have somebody hold on to a focus. And also Shock T can do the ability to herself. Like I think it's an efficiency problem. Yoda isn't very efficient on its own, which I think is really the problem. Any other thoughts on Yoda before we move on to what I think is probably the most interesting pilot we're going to get to here in a minute?
Yeah, my thoughts on Yoda is that he better be priced aggressively. Even with that 3-Force.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
All right.
I agree. Like Yoda, even though you have 3-Force, to see play, he's gonna have to be the cheapest named. Because like I don't see why he would be more.
Yeah.
Just without the name. Well,
cheapest named ETA for sure. If not, like
he might be the cheapest though.
3-Force is good, and then also that ability, if he's even cheaper, becomes like you start talking about actual like support Yoda if Shock T becomes too expensive, right?
Mm-hmm. That's fair.
Because I mean, I'm like Shock T, Queen of the Jedi, the benevolent Queen, Shock T.
She never had her storyline because she was brutally destroyed in Order 66. All right, now
Hey, but if you watch Clone Wars, she had some story.
This is true. This is true. Now, let's talk about the Jedi General. This is the generic Initiative 4. Is this the hero we've been waiting for? Ryan, this one's yours. I don't know. Will it save us from the Nantex menace if the points change doesn't come?
I was going to say, if it costs 29 points, maybe.
What do you mean? How does this? I don't see how this saves us from the Nantex.
I don't know.
That's saving us from the Nantex is a points change. But I do think this generic is super neat. You have I-4 generic, which is not common. 2-Force on a generic as well. It's really cool. I'm always a fan of generics and having them slot in well in the game. And like people might be concerned, like it's an I-4 with the bullseye with 3 Nantex. Is this going to be similar? Like no, chill. This thing is going to cost more. It's got it has full access to boost and barrel and doing it in the system phase if it needs to or wants to. And it doesn't have access to talent like Crackshot or Predator, right? So its damage output's not going to be like the Nantex by any means. I just think it's a really cool generic filler that has stats and numbers on it, particularly the orange and purple numbers that make me go, oh, okay.
Will, thoughts?
This is gonna be pretty good.
What's your response to the people saying they want to be able to fly 5, like 3 of these with some other?
Let's see. No, I pointed out to who did I reply to here? I'm terrible with names. I'm gonna call him Mel. Mel's wanted 3 generics, Ayla and Yoda. Get out of here. They're going to be good. I just keep going back to the same comparison. I don't know what else to compare it to, but a CLT Aether Sprite. And CLT Aether Sprites have been tearing it up in combinations of 4+ or 5. So I could definitely see, man, if this thing is like 38, 39, 40... I could definitely see them spammed up because that's pretty good.
I think they'll probably go 41, but I'm actually in the sake of balance. But I actually think they'll do 40, just so they can sell 5. And
you've been playing this game for a while, Marcel. You know what's up.
So I guess why would 5 be a concern? If people were like, it's probably not going to be 5, maybe it could be directly 5, maybe it could be a little under 5. Because right now, CLT Jedi Knights, while they only have 1 Force, the CLT shot by itself by just using a force for FTC and then focusing is better than just a 3 bullseye, because you get the guaranteed focus result. Now, granted, you're one initiative less, but sometimes those, besides the Nantex, which is the current corner case of an I4 mattering over an I3 right
that's
now.
today's
Most
problem.
of the time, yeah, that's today's problem. I4, I3 are not normally something people fight for. So I guess I could easily see these being around a very similar cost of current CLT Jedi Knights, who less initiative but better mods offensively and the ability to double reposition after they move. So I mean, tier wise with the general, I think as a generic for this chassis, I think it's A tier.
All right, slapping it in. Now, something that somebody brought up, and Marcel, I'll have you comment on this, and Will. People noticed that in the spread, when we had it, when they have all the cards out there, that there are some talent cards included in the pack. Do we think that?
Wait, there was?
Yeah. Do we think that that some of these might have some talent slots?
I mean, if they added them, I don't think they would add some. I don't think they've ever added something that can't be equipped in at least one of them. Anakin is an example of a force and a talent.
Yeah. So Catherine, one of our mods in the chat pointed out it's the Marg Sable closure card is in the pack.
The who to what? Where? Why?
It's one of the new ones.
Yeah, I mean, I don't see why not. I mean, it wouldn't be the first. So actually, wouldn't it be nice if Yoda was? I mean, we were talking about 2 force slots. Maybe Yoda is the first one to have a talent and a force slot. Maybe.
We'll never know.
I mean, if anyone with a talent slot, I would think Anakin.
Really, we'll never know.
No, soon.
We'll never know until November.
Until we do. We'll never know until we do. So pretty interesting. I'm excited for this ship. I mean, always getting Clone Wars era ships is really great. I know that there's a lot of people who grew up watching the Clone Wars cartoon series who are active X-Wing players now. So it's just great to see ships from this era pop up into the game. So here is our tier list as we finished there. So we had R2-D2, Astromech, Obi-Wan, Kenobi, and Shakti in the S tier, with Shakti taking the crown. Extreme Maneuvers, Patience, Anakin Skywalker, and the Jedi General in the A tier. Ayala Sakura with the B tier, and Grandmaster Yoda in the C tier. We'll find out, and we'll reevaluate once we get the points, and of course, once we actually see them on the table. We're coming up on our evaluation of the current wave. Once we get to the end of Coruscant, I'm curious to see how things shake out from there. Any other thoughts on any of the cards in this pack before we move on to our next things on the docket, gentlemen?
I just want to say that I think that these are, compared to the Aether sprites, the CLT Aether sprites, I think that these are actually a worse chassis. And I don't mean to come off as negative about that. I'm actually excited about that because I was worried at first. Another double reposition, high initiative, force using ship that also can, get high attack power is very concerning. That the Republic was getting stacked with them, and I think that the intuitive controls really reins in this ship and puts it on tier with more like how Phantoms move. Phantoms don't have double repositioning, but they have an extra way to maneuver around. So I think they're going to fly interesting, but not be oppressive.
You know, I think that what's going to happen with these is they have an extremely high ceiling. Is what I think is what it comes down to. Is if you can be, if you can be on that true Jedi level, and during the system phase, use the ability to get yourself in the right spot, do the perfect maneuver, be out of all the arcs. You got your bullseye on range 1, and you just start popping stuff. That is the top ceiling. Or if you can actually combine this with which one of Marcel's favorite cards, Sense. I think that's probably where some people will be going, is using Sense. Maybe not on one of the ETA-2s themselves, maybe on another friendly ship, but using some type of way to look at the dial and then manipulate with intuitive controls, because you do have that option there. But of course, we got to see how the points shake out. But watch out for that one. I think that's something that some sneaky people are going to try to go for first, because people like looking at dials. It's just going to cost you. And can you make it worth it? All right. So we're going to go and talk a little bit about Coruscant. We did talk about it a little bit earlier. It's happening November 7th and the 8th. If you have earned an invite, you've already got an email. If you said, no, I didn't, check the email that you submitted when you did your forms. It should be in there. Check your spam. Now, announced today officially, just like we had 1 week leeway time before the Crate Galactic Championship, and we were able to use Wave 7, the Heralds of Hope and the TIE Brute come out 1 week before Coruscant, which means that they will be legal for play in the Coruscant Invitational. So, if you're excited about something in that pack, congratulations, you will be able to use it. I'm excited to see what some of our top players will bring to the table. And just in case you were worried about that or had a question, I posted it on Discord today as well, just to reassure that. Let's jump into our lists of the week, guys. Oh, sorry, there was one other thing. I didn't get to show off the Galactic Championship Top 8 templates. Here they are. I think it is my best design yet, to be completely honest. It's inspired by Coruscant. You have the Coruscant City Rings in there. Has the Galactic Championships on there. You got the GSP helmet with the year 2020. I think it's my best work yet for templates, and they will be for that top 8. And I always had plans for top 8 templates, because that is something that our Not Worlds tournament seemed to be missing with the things that have happened in Worlds. Like there's something about those top 8 templates in this major event series, and I just didn't have the design yet, and I didn't want to say I was doing templates if I ended up hating the design, but it was always in the plans, and I finally got a design that I really, really loved, and I'm looking forward to have these in hand. I will tell you, they're going to be a pain in the butt to prep for you guys, but I will be doing them since it's only going to be 8 sets. Besides the extra set that I got for myself. It's the perks. Gotta have the perks. What color is that? It's like it's a frosted yellow orange. If you have the Jam tokens from Space Jam, it's that same color. That's the color of what they are. Now, the next thing we talked about, Heralds of Hope. Let's jump into our lists of the week. If you've never submitted a list of the week submission, you can do so on our Discord, !Discord if you're watching live, or click the link in the description down below if you're watching on YouTube. Let's go ahead and jump into Robert's lists. Here is the preamble to this list. It says, I flew this at the Crate Galactic Championship qualifier to some success. Somehow, I never played against the Bug Menace with it, so I have no idea how it will go there. Any suggestions or improvements? So this is a variation on an archetype that we did see quite a bit. This is a Warthog list. So we have Warthog with Barrage Rockets and Ghost Company. Sinker in the Arc 170, which if you're not familiar with Sinker or haven't played it for a while, it gives offensive rerolls to friendly ships in the side arc at range 1 to 2, and 3 V-19 Torrents, the blue Squadron protectors, is the Initiative 3. That makes it so that every ship in the list is Initiative 3. I'm sure, I know Marcel is a fan of those matching initiative lists. There are some sacrifices that seem to be made with this archetype. I'm curious to see what Ryan does. Go ahead, take it.
All right, so couple things that kind of stand out. I think Sinker on top of having a lat is pretty redundant, I think. And also the fact that Sinker takes no benefit from Warthog's ability. Not that means you can't have named ships in a Warthog list, because some people might round it out with a Jedi. But I think Sinker's fallen very far down the totem pole in the Republic right now, because lats are so good and normally enough with their ability. So we're actually just going to take Sinker completely out.
Hey, you've just gained 54 points.
Yeah. Ghost Company, while a great upgrade for the cost, I think the concern is right now it's not necessary on a lat that really is meant to be supporting firepower. Adding a second shot's cool, but it actually doesn't synergize with barrage rockets at all, because Ghost Company says after you perform a primary attack, if you are focused, you may perform a turret attack against the ship you have not attacked. So it's like Bistan, but it requires a primary. Can't recall if I'm assuming Bistan's also primary, but barrage rocket will not allow you to then shoot with your turret. So we're taking barrage rocket and Ghost Company out. We're going to keep Warthog light-ish, because I still think one of the best upgrades to see on a lat is 7th Fleet Gunners. So we're going to slot that in for now. Whether or not these V19s need to be the I3s, I don't know. I did get a chance to play a little bit of lat gunship over the weekend, and actually being able to move at the same time is nice. But I don't think that should necessarily sacrifice our ability to fit stuff in the list the way we need it to. And I will say, what I was playing, this would be too much of an overhaul, but I did Warthog, 7th Fleet, Wolfpack, and 3 Arc 170s. All the I3s. That's a hyperspace legal list. I think it's really good. But we're going to keep the V19s in here. We're just going to change them to the Gold Squadron Troopers. And then we're going to duplicate to have 4 of them. Now, the difficulty here is, what do we do with the 5th ship? Because we can't fit an Arc. Maybe in the future we can fit a good V-Wing. That's something we can look forward to. We can fit a Jedi Knight, just a base Knight, who can take advantage of Warthog's ability. And with 7th Fleet, albeit not CLT, you can still make that a dangerous attack that's kind of moving around the board. You could do a I-1 Naboo Starfighter and then allow yourself to put Wolfpack on Warthog. One of my favorite combinations with him as well. Because now all your small ships are moving at I-2 with the Naboo Starfighter, and Warthog is just kind of moving at I-3 wherever he needs to be, kind of behind the swarm bit. But finding usage with Warthog in the Lat and 7th Fleet, they don't want to be too far behind, because they need their arc to be in the fight to provide the rerolls and the additional dice. So it's a little bit different movement you have to get used to. If you can live without Wolfpack, like I said, it can be either a Jedi Knight, or you can load up a Y-Wing with ion cannon turret and concussion bombs. This time you don't want Goji. One, because you don't have room for delayed fuses, and 2, because Goji can just die without Warthog saving him to allow him to shoot.
So which one do you want?
What's your choice? Which version do you like the most? The Y-Wing one, the Naboo one, or the Jedi one?
I think I like the Jedi. The Jedi one seems like you get a little bit more flexibility. You can keep them in the pack with everybody else, or if you really want something a little squirrely to get on the flank, you have that extra maneuverability. So I'd say go with the Jedi.
Okay.
So you end up with Warthog, 7 Fleet Gunner, 4 Gold Squadron troopers in the V-19, and then the Jedi Knight sitting at 200 points. Now, Robert, I do see you in the chat. Let us know how this goes, if you decide to go with it or if you decide to go with something else. But that's our suggestion there.
Yeah. Again, I would favor the something else in Warthog and 3 arcs, but maintaining by rules that some people don't stick to here.
Elbow, jab.
I'll let them have their fun with their list now.
Okay. All right. Low frequency. Your list is next, and Will's going to take a look at that. On the onset, we have Gideon Hask with no upgrades, Fifth Brother with homing missiles, passive sensors, Major Vinder with a slew of upgrades, fire control system, plasma torpedoes, advanced slam, OS-1 arsenal loadout, and the advanced proton torpedo, and then Soontir with Predator sitting at 193 points. The preamble for this one says, hey guys, I plan to fly this list on next Saturday's Galactic qualifier. So planning to fly it during Ryloth. This is, the bit is against the Nantex. Plasmas against Bobas. I'm not sure the bit. I'm not sure what he means by that.
Bid.
The bid. Okay. The bid is against Nantex, the Plasmas against Bobas, Dengar under Rays. Not sure. Again,
And Rays.
And Rays. Okay. Soontir should take care of all of the Initiative 5 stuff. What are your thoughts about it? Cheers.
Well,
Marcel, those words were hard because they weren't in there.
So, I think it's actually a nice mix of arms. I'm not sure. I have my personal opinions on TIE Fighter and TIE Advanced V1 pilots I prefer. But there's nothing wrong with Fifth Brother and Gideon. Gaining routine, that effect. And Soontir, obviously, pretty good. As long as you can get bullseyes, which I can't, so I don't even bother. But it is good if you can fly them. My problem, though, is Major Vinder. I think Vinder only works with a Palp Jendon, or what do I say? A big enough threat to not get focused down. I just think that he's going to get focused down too quickly. So I apologize if that was the ship in the list that you're hoping to fly, because I am ditching it. Also, we're going to ditch the bid.
I'm sorry, Will. I did miss. What ship am I deleting?
Oh, Vinder.
Vinder. Whoosh, 58 points.
No, I don't like him. His time on target's bad. You got to get the locks. So against those Rays, Bobas, all those things, they get to move after you. So even if you do advanced slam in there, now you're stressed. You got no support. You're rolling 3 naked greens. Not a fan. But I got another solution, though. If you are worried about Nantex, and the Nantex are going to bid you at 10 points. Isn't that what crackshot ones are going for these days? I think so. If you drop the one crack shot, you get to 188. Is that right?
He's in the range. He's in the range. I would say my prediction would be that he'd be outbidding about half of them he was at 193 before.
Right. I guess so. Anyways, we're gonna lean into moving first on this, and we're gonna get someone who can still double modify dice, which Vinder wasn't double modifying. He was just re-rolling the single die. Is we're going to put in a Punisher. That Punisher is going to be Death Rain.
At Initiative 4 as well. That's important to note.
Oh, yeah. He fits in with the Fifth Brother and Gideon Hask here. And we're going to be putting some damage cards on people. Let's put some, let's get trajectory proton bombs. Those don't do cards, but we'll get to it. You essentially get another bomb of your choice. Either you go risky with concussions to guarantee that Gideon Hask ability and just to spook low hull ships, or you can go the more conservative seismic charges. And of course, we're putting old fuses on this guy as well. Actually, I take that back. He did like plasma torpedoes. No, I think fuses are so good. You know what's just as good as plasma torpedoes, in my opinion, is diamond boron missiles.
Mm-hmm.
You still have that chance to deal an extra damage, but you get 3 charges instead. Well, I guess not really, because if you're doing the extra damage, then you really only get 2 charges. But I like diamond boron missiles if you can equip them. I think they're really good. If you are worried about Nantex, I guess you could. No, wait, they're more expensive. Why are multi-missile pods so expensive?
Don't ask that.
I don't.
I'm still triggered by that one.
Not like this.
Every time I look at it, I'm like, oh, you're probably worth 6 points. Nope, still late. Okay.
All right. Question for you: why proton bomb and not seismic for bigger range of boom?
Didn't I say proton bomb and seismic?
Well, so far he's got concussion or proton, but why not concussion seismic?
Oh, that could get you the extra points.
That gets you to 197.
Yeah, if you were trying to get those plasma torpedoes, okay, all right, I can see that. Protons are just, I don't know, it's old school bombing in my opinion. It's just spooky, I guess. But yeah, right. The concussion bombs, and because Death Rain's going to be dropping a bomb every round. He gets a free action every time he drops a bomb. He's going to be dropping or launching a bomb. So actually, yeah, if you do go concussion bombs, you can squeeze in those plasma torpedoes with your preferred munition. So I don't know. I don't know why proton bombs are, well, because you could choose when to drop them, I guess. But Death Rain's going to be dropping every round, so might as well go with the concussion. Just don't hit your other ships. Whew, they're fragile. So this kind of gives you like a big tank to kind of go out there jousting and just causing havoc. And hopefully that could give you enough time to get Gideon, Fifth Brother, and Soontir into good positions.
Beautiful. Beautiful. So we end up with Gideon Hask, Fifth Brother, passive homing missile, Soontir with Predator, Death Rain with trajectory, plasma, torpedoes, concussion bomb, seismic chargers, and delayed fuses. I saved this link because I'm pretty sure I want to try flying this for League Night this Wednesday. I actually am pretty curious on how this flies. All righty.
Well, as long as you don't bomb yourself, probably pretty good.
I'll try. All right, last but certainly not the least, we have Marcel Manzano taking on the list submitted by Azagol and said, this is a weird one. I'm not sure why it works. We got Tel Travura with proton torpedoes, Lando Calrissian in the escape craft, Genesis Red in the M3A with a proton torpedo, Constable Zuvio with proximity mines and cloaking device, and Bosk in the Z95 with marksmanship. By the way, he did give a longer preamble where he kind of went through all the abilities. We're not reading it just because they're essentially just restated what each of the ships do. But you can see he's got a lot of tech in there. And Marcel, scum salad, thoughts?
Let's make it work. It sounds like he said it was working already. So let's make it not work then. So I actually chose this one first before Ryan and Williams got their dirty mitts on the other ones, because he's got Tel Travura, so he had me. He had me at, like, as soon as I opened the door, he had me at hello there. So the one thing that I don't like about this list is actually Lando Calrissian, mostly because in this particular list, I would see Lando as being kind of like your support ship, handing out coordinates, making sure that Tel Travura has double modded shot mostly because that's Genesis Red. The whole point of Genesis Red is that he does get his double modded shot.
Mhm.
So coming in at 29 points, and then by coordinating, he stresses himself so he can't even use his own ability. Kind of defeats the purpose. So what is better than coordinating a focus to Telchavura is just getting rid of him and putting Han Solo on Telchavura. So let's do that. Let's get rid of Lando and put Han Solo Gunner on Telchavura.
All right, now you're at 181.
Oh yeah, now we got some points to play with. Another thing that Tel likes, he likes auto blasters with marksmanship. It's just good to have because you're not always going to be able to be at the top initiative and get those target a lot. So let's just make sure we got that going on. He likes contraband. Any Jumpmaster likes contraband. So let's do a little contraband action. And they also like to get rid of stress. So we'll put L337, which actually even works better on him than on Dengar, because with his comeback to life ability, he just tends to be a little bit more tanky. So he'll be around a little bit longer. So that leaves me with some points to play around with. So let's give Bosk a Dead Man Switch and throw Cicatro Vizago on Constable Zuvio, so that way he can cloak up and then toss that token over to Bosk and take the Dead Man Switch to himself. That way he can really knife fight the way he's intended to, threaten with those proximity mines. Then let's throw a delayed fuse on Constable Zuvio. And finally, because Constable will be knife fighting in the middle of things, just hoping he gets blown up in front of everyone. Let's throw pattern analyzers to make sure that he can stay in the fight. And if he does a reverse or if he does this loops, he can go ahead and still either stay focused or still be able to get those tractor beams off. So yeah, there you go. You got Telchavura that is self-sufficient, being able to coordinate himself with Han Solo, and then able to shrug off that stress with L3. We're not going to touch Genesis Reed because we know Genesis Reed blows up. Thank you very much, William. I think you're the one that blew him up last time. Constable Zuvio is just I love this 47-point Constable Zuvio, and then Bosk again, and it'll be nice. Bosk can actually cloak up at some point if he wants to just like come in and have a little fun. Just have a cloak.
You do know you've caused a riot in the chat. You do know this, right?
With what?
The fact that you didn't put whole upgrade on Telchavura. Like there's literally rioting in the streets right now.
I've flown Telchavura almost a whole lot. I flew him at store championships. I've never added hull, and you don't need hull. Telchavura is there. Yeah, you don't need it. Lies. Pattern analyzer on Constable Zuvio will get you much more mileage than one extra hull on Telchavura, because once Telchavura comes back from the dead, he'll be dead again after one shot anyway. So that's my list.
All right, there you go. So you got Tel with marksmanship, proton torpedoes, auto blaster, L337, Han Solo gunner, contraband cybernetics, Genesis Red with proton torpedo, Constable Zuvio, the thick boy Constable with 47 points, pattern analyzer, Cicatro Vizago, proximity mines, cloaking device, delayed fuses, and Bosk with marksmanship and dead man switch. And then for the people, this is for the people, Marcel, you know I love you. I'm going to make another version where you take hull upgrade just to stop the riots. This is just to calm the people down. You rip off L337 and
you know, if you're going to rip anything off, you take pattern analyzer off Constable Zuvio.
Why wouldn't you take off L3?
Because it's 201 points.
And then
you need L3 to clear the Han Solo stress.
Oh, yes, you're right. I was just trying to help the people.
You got to take the pattern analyzer, not the Yeah, you got to take the pattern
All right.
analyzer off.
Pattern. Boom.
Yeah. That okay. So this one is for the people that want to not have as much fun. Yeah, you'll be tankier. You'll have much less fun.
You can have
thank you, Neil.
your strategy, but here you go. Just another option. Just another option. Awesome. So yeah, that was great. I absolutely I love going through those. It's just super fun. Now, before we go today, we do have a couple of really good questions of the week that I want to hit here. We have two. The first comes from the Joe is their screen name, and it says, "How do you feel the metagame in tournaments has been affected by the fact that we play right now on Tabletop Simulator? Do you think it has affected the meta? And do you think any particular list has received an edge or is better because of Tabletop Simulator?" Now, there's a lot of things to consider here. There is the fact that ships can be moved faster. They can be moved more accurately. You're getting more turns than usual. Do we think that if all of this was in person, would the meta look the same? What are your thoughts on that, Ryan?
Sorry, muted. Can you say that one more time? I was kind of...
No worries. You were reading. I could see the reading eyes.
I was reading something, yeah.
So, do you think that the metagame is different because we've been playing on Tabletop Simulator than it would have been? Or do you think there are lists? Actually, the direct question is, do you think there are lists that have been given an advantage because we're playing on Tabletop Simulator rather than if we were playing in person?
Advantage? I don't know for sure. I will say, I think I haven't got a feel for this from the community because we're playing digitally. That I think the feeling of games not going to completion as much with like people had that problem with like swarms won't let me finish a game because they take so long to do X thing and play a game because you got to move stuff and all that. All the movement's automated.
Right. So
that feeling of not enough time allotted to kill a large amount of ships in a list, I haven't seen that that complaint as much recently.
True.
But it does, like, the ability to bring as many of any type of ships as you want. I don't think that directly benefits a certain list. I think it just allows people to literally just try whatever they want because they don't need to spend the money to get X thing or enough or borrow or whatever they need to do to create their list for an event. So I don't think it's really an advantage or disadvantage any which way specifically. I think it's just the only thing, like I mentioned at first, was I see less of people mentioning that games don't feel like they don't have enough time to kill a swarm, right? Just so happens that right now the swarm that's currently used the most kills really good anyway, so those games are completing.
Yeah. Will, your thoughts?
Well, I think you had missed just one thing that I'd like to add, and it's definitely purchase, or wait, how do I want to say that? Collections, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
It lets people fly things that they don't even have in their collection, something that they wouldn't even normally fly. So it has spurred a lot of, well, I take that back. I would have assumed it would spur a lot of diversity, but I think it's actually created a lot more net listing that someone can see a list that was played by somebody and be like, I can play that. And they can do it instantly. So I think it has actually, meta-wise, it's actually caused like a regurgitation of lists. We were starting for the first couple galaxies, seeing the same list just over and over and over again.
Mm-hmm.
But now I think that the main.
Do you think? Here's a thought. Here's a thought.
Oh,
Do you think that maybe the fact that it's been online has made it move faster? The development has been faster, just because we have more.
You're talking the mod,
like the
not the games.
like
I see
the
what
meta
you're saying,
development, the meta development. Maybe we would have ended up in the same place. And while I think that I know some people had argued like oh, who actually owns 6 Nantex? I get that argument, but I think we would have eventually got there. And I remember Ryan, I think it was last week or 2 weeks ago, had mentioned that he thought that maybe we would have gotten to the 6 Nantex eventually, but because there is like literally limited stock. If you haven't experimented with 6 Nantex, it would have taken somebody to actually do it. It gets seen, but because more people can experiment, and there's a lot of people streaming Tabletop Simulator X-Wing live. We have these big events happening. Maybe we've simply gotten to where we would have gotten faster than we would have if all of this would have happened on regular tables.
I can agree with that. The meta seems always solved so much quicker this year because of online gaming. So definitely that has taken some effect into it.
Mm-hmm. And just the reality that you can play in general with Tabletop Simulator, you can play more games in the amount of time you would have, right? Like, I would never, if somebody told me if you could only ever play in person on a table or on TTS, which one would you want? I'd say the table every day. It's just there's a completely different experience. But there is a reality, the fact that when I play on Tabletop Simulator, we can start a game by clicking a button. And we just go, and just the like your gaming time. If you still have your gaming time and you can't do it in person, you could actually just fit more games in there, which also just adds to that the more cycles in order to continue the evolution of the meta.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, I'm 45 minutes away from a game store.
Yeah.
For some people, it's hours. So definitely getting a lot more games in. Plus, international now as well.
Mm-hmm.
I play with more international people, I think, than Americans, just because of like time zones and things. So it's had its benefits, I think.
All right, Marcel, your thoughts?
Grouchy. I hate Nantex. Mad bad.
Okay, but
I think it's. I mean, it benefits. Certainly, sure. I do think that it benefits swarms, even the ones that kill fast, not just the ones that want to stick. Actually, it probably hurts the ones that want to stick around a little longer. But I think one way that it benefits swarms, and benefits certain things is in the preciseness and exactness of movement, where when you're flying 6 ships, 7 ships, 8 ships, you start just naturally breaking formation even without wanting to. Just the wiggle room, the imperfections, and those imperfections start mattering when you're flying in close proximity and flying close ships. So I think that has something to do with it. Also, just the speed of the game and how many rounds you get has to have. They have to have it, right? Because if you play, just looking at the final with, the last final you had, if the game was over at regular time, the First Order would have won, but it went longer, more rounds. Eventually, the Nantex crept back up. And that's true in every game. I mean, how many games have we, even in a single tournament, how many games make the difference in the last round and probably would have switched leads again in the following round after the last?
Yeah.
I mean,
or even one before that, right? Like if in person you would have been able to only play one round less than what you did, that can completely change the game. Yeah.
So it has to have an impact. It has to have an impact, and then also, I think again a huge impact that it has on the meta is the whole kind of goes counter to what William was saying, which is the whole international aspect of it. While events like like Worlds that would mean something, there's still such thing as local metas, and we don't really get that local meta in the current environment. So if you go to let's say a regional, if you're doing a regional and you have like a midwestern, where we're here in the Midwest, and we've got a region where we get a couple people from Wisconsin, maybe some Michigan, Indiana, and Chicago. That's a meta in itself. That's not, that's going to be different than people flying stuff in Poland and UK, or because when you have this world level where you have this like mix mash of metas from everywhere else, and it becomes basically every tournament becomes a world event, right? Every tournament becomes a world's environment. Then you're going to get closer to the mature meta, because you're not having your local tournaments and your local regions kind of perfect their own little thing. And then, so all that regional specialization doesn't occur. Everything's just, like a world stage meta. And you're going to just end up being with like, what's the most efficient, point efficient, cost efficient things that are out there. So you don't really develop these little nuances that you would in like a small Birmingham pocket or something like that, where they develop the Hatchet Man and things like that.
Cool. I think it's a great discussion. And then one question that I did see pop up in the chat, which Robert, whose list we looked at earlier, said, I think it's hard to put a number on how many extra rounds we're getting, because I think it's completely dependent on the list. I would say that for the less ships you have, maybe it's 2 to 3 extra rounds. I think with a swarm, you're ending up with more on average compared to the less ships, because obviously if you have less ships, you are like your time for movement is not as much as swarm. But yeah, I'm really curious. I'm really curious for when we get back to in-person play for everybody, the adjustment period that we will all need to remember the actual pace of the game, because our perception on pace of play is completely changed, and it's going to take a while for us to bounce back into what we're used to. And who knows, maybe we end up all benefiting and end up playing faster just in our decision making, because we've been on TTS for a while. I hope so.
I'm gonna miss the times where I'm just like, well, all my ships bump. There you go. Move. Well, look, they all bumped. Like, all right, it's your turn to move now. Man, I am gonna miss that.
All righty. So we have one last question here, but instead of expanding it too much, I just want a yes or no answer from each of you. You guys ready for the question? And same thing for the chat. Here it is. If you were a developer at Fantasy Flight Games and somebody asked you to do the following, would you allow or create some type of rule that would allow scum pilots and upgrade cards to be used with any faction up to a certain percentage? I don't really care what the percentage is, but would you want to create something like that for X-Wing? My answer is no. Ryan.
Also no.
Will.
Oh, that's what gets me. I have to say yes. Yes.
Marcel.
Yeah.
All right.
Why not?
50-50 split. We'll break it down next week because I'm curious to see what your guys' thoughts are on it. Thank you, everybody, for watching. Got to give you guys that tease. Make sure to tune in this Wednesday for League Night and Saturday. And actually, wait, this is in Poland, which means that we're probably starting Friday night if you're in the United States. By the way, if you're playing in Ryloth, make sure you got all your stuff together. And if you have questions, reach out to me. Thanks for watching, everybody. Have fun. Be safe. Be smart. Gold. Squadron.